Exactly as I feared. My bad premonitions had come true. It was more resignation than anger, a feeling of, I knew it. James would surely do the same thing again. My tears and anger, James' apologies, they were all just temporary. My name is Lily. I'm an average working woman, neither beautiful nor particularly skilled at my job. Yet somehow I ended up getting to know a man I met at a bar and smoothly progressed to marriage. My female friends often say, "You're lucky to be married to a handsome man." But it's not as easy as it sounds. Women are always openly scheming around James, and he's well aware of his own charm. "If you keep being so demanding, I might get taken away by another woman." He had stopped listening to me. Outside, he plays the role of a loving, gentle husband, but at home, he's a complete henpecked husband. His mother, James could have married a better woman. Why settle for someone so plain and unimpressive? She's disliked me from the first meeting. Every time we visit, I'm bullied, and though my father-in-law, William, tries to call my mother-in-law Grace, her snide remarks never end. James, my husband, "Mom's just lonely because her only son is away. Just ignore her." He's more concerned about appeasing her than caring for me. They say love is blind, but often, "Mom's feeling lonely and cold." He goes back to his parents' house once a month, and it's too much for me. I wish we could spend more time together, just the two of us. Especially since we've been married for less than 2 years and don't have kids yet. "What's up? Dressing up all fancy?" "Just been invited by some friends. We're having a guys' night out." "But we just had lunch. I was about to suggest going out for dinner." "So early?" "We're gathering early since it's been a while." Something felt off. "It's been a while? You just had a gathering." He paused while tying his shoelaces. "It's a different group this time." "Really? It's not an affair, is it?" I had to ask directly because, well, my husband has a history. 6 months into our marriage, returning from my first outing since our wedding, I saw my husband stumbling and playfully kissing another woman. My friend and I were stunned, but my friend quickly said, "Take a photo. We need evidence." I suppressed the evidence of the affair when I was told to do so. I confronted him as soon as I got home. "You kissed me, too." But when I showed him the kissing video on my phone, he finally admitted it. They had met randomly at a bar, bonded over their mutual love of baseball, and exchanged contacts. It was their second meeting, and things got carried away with the alcohol. I cried my eyes out at the shock of his infidelity. He panicked. "I'm sorry. I won't ever do something like this again." He apologized profusely to me. I made him delete her contact in front of me. But I still wonder if it really was only their second meeting, and if they hadn't been involved before our marriage. After hearing his friends at the wedding say how popular he was in high school and college, I felt lucky he chose me. But now, those words make me anxious about him cheating again. After the affair came to light, he was subdued at first, but now it seems he's forgotten about it entirely, or rather, he didn't learn his lesson. Lately, he prioritizes his friends over me, quickly leaving on his days off. Even when I plan a 2-day trip, he suddenly says he has work and ends up not going. I'm even suspicious if these friends are really just men. "See you!" Lost in thought, I didn't notice him leave. I sighed. Why did he marry me? Did he think I was the kind of woman who would tolerate his cheating? I earn a bit more than James. Maybe he's just using me. Lost in thought, my mobile phone rang. Is it James, wanting me to deliver something he forgot? Annoyed, I checked my phone. It was a call from my friend, Chloe. "It's been a while. Hope I'm not disturbing. Just concerned about how Lily's doing." I couldn't help but share my feelings with her. I'm physically fine, but getting snide remarks from Grace and James has been going out more. Chloe seemed puzzled, pausing before responding. That's tough, Lily. You never seem to catch a break. I know. I just want some peace of mind. To think about children or future. Lately, whenever I bring up kids, James quickly changes the subject. It's not that he's against having children, he just finds the thought bothersome. James seems content, as long as he's enjoying the moment. So what will you do? Her question brought me back to reality. Continuing like this isn't good. I feel like I'm just being persuaded by James. I decided to take a bold step. I'll follow him. I'm off today. If he's cheating, he's probably meeting her today. Chloe calmly replied, Got it. I'm off to work, but good luck. In support of Chloe, I am. Yeah, I responded. Ignoring the situation would only make things worse. I need irrefutable evidence to make him reflect. I felt a strange sense of mission. At that moment, I still hoped James would change. But where could he have gone? He mentioned a drinking party, but if he's cheating, maybe he's out shopping with her. I searched for James's account on social media. James regularly updates his social media, and I once peeked out of curiosity. He closed it immediately, saying it was embarrassing, but I remembered the username. I never checked his social media closely, not wanting to pry, respecting his privacy. If I had seen it, I would have been tempted to tell him, and I would have respected my husband's wish to be embarrassed in his own way. But now, potentially being betrayed, that respect didn't matter. I searched his social media by the name I remembered. There it is. There was a photo of him, happily shopping with a woman wearing sunglasses at a fancy department store. His profile stated, single man, $100K income. I couldn't believe he could lie like that. I took a taxi to the department store in the photo. They were probably at the brand section on the first floor. If their shopping took long, I might find them. Walking through the store, checking shops, I heard a familiar voice. Ew, Sophia, I like this! This cost $8,000. I just bought you a $2,000 coat. It was James's voice. Exactly what I thought. I didn't want to be right, but I had to face it. I took out my phone, switched to video mode, and approached them. James, didn't you promise no more cheating? His reaction was entirely different from the first time. Oh, again? I was infuriated. Again? You're blaming me for catching me cheating? He sighed, making a gesture of exasperation. Was he trying to look good in front of her? But I wasn't in a state to care about appearances. But, without evidence, you just run away again, right? Didn't you promise no more lies? My anger from the first time he cheated surged, and I raised my voice, not caring who saw. Some customers turned to look at us. Then a laugh, clearly mocking. Lady, it's pathetic to cling to your husband at your age. It's a marital issue, none of your business. She seemed surprised at my comeback, then visibly annoyed. Figures why James cheats on you. Maybe you should reflect on your actions. Pressured by her words, James also started speaking. It's your fault for not making an effort to prevent cheating. You always come home from work with a tired face. You've given up being a woman. Look at her and learn. He pointed at his mistress. She, pleased with James's words, clapped her hands mockingly. How hilarious! She laughed at me. I was beyond dismayed. They seemed like a different species. I decided to leave this place quickly. I won't keep this matter just between us two. I'll report this to William and Grace. James, with a smug expression, Go ahead, he said. I left the spot and exited the department store. I was completely ridiculed by them, even though I did nothing wrong. Later, a sense of emptiness and sadness welled up inside me. Why? I muttered to no one. Tears streamed down my face, but I felt it was a waste to cry over such a man. I couldn't let this go. I had to find a way to make him pay. I called my parents and told them everything. They were furious and said I could come home anytime. When I called James's parents, William answered, so I told him about the second infidelity. William apologized, confused. "I'm sorry." He apologized to me, bewildered. His apology felt more sincere than James, even though he wasn't the one who did it. But Grace, who took over the call midway, "Are you sure you're not mistaken?" And, "James is popular, so don't make a fuss just because he talks to other women." She completely dismissed me. Frustrated, William silenced Grace and hung up. I had a feeling dealing with the in-laws would be difficult. Grace seemed to want to dismiss my son's infidelity as my mistake. I didn't expect that. I wanted to rely on my parents, but with my mom hospitalized and my dad caring for her, I didn't want to trouble them. Dad tried calling James a few times to understand the situation, but James avoided the calls. Yet, he had the audacity to brag about his mistress to me, unsolicited. I started to feel mentally drained. I couldn't rely on my family, and Grace would side with her son, maybe even blame me. Then there was William. I think he's reasonable, but people change when it involves family. I couldn't handle this alone anymore. I decided to go to the in-laws alone for a discussion. I didn't bring James to avoid him sweet-talking his way out. Arriving at their house, Grace informed me that William had just left, possibly the worst timing. But having come alone, Grace sensed something was up. Unable to bear it anymore, I poured out everything that had happened. While speaking, anger brought tears to my eyes. However, Grace remained cold, and after hearing everything, "Is that why you came here?" She scoffed. I impulsively asked, "Grace, as a woman, wouldn't you be hurt if your husband cheated?" I asked. It was probably the first time I spoke so directly to Grace, but seeking empathy from her was a mistake. "James is handsome. You should tolerate some things. You should realize that you and James are mismatched. Then you wouldn't be so dissatisfied." Still, I protested. "But Grace, I've never been cheated on, so I can't understand." She added insult to injury. Ultimately, I left their house quickly. As time passed, Grace's words hurt more. Walking, tears came. I had no expectations from Grace, but it became clear I had no allies in this situation. Feeling gloomy, I didn't feel like going straight home, so I decided to stop by a cafe. Though still hurt, sipping coffee gradually calmed me. I couldn't focus on the magazine I picked up, but it somewhat distracted me. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar voice entered the cafe, unusually cheerful and loud. "Let's have lunch here!" It was Grace, unusually cheerful and loud. I sneaked a peek at the man's face. Grace, behaving unusually giddy for her age, leaned into the man's arm. It was clear they were more than acquaintances. Could Grace be having an affair? My mind went blank for a moment, but their behavior seemed unmistakable. She hadn't offended me earlier. Perhaps she was conscious of her own infidelity. I felt incredibly angry. Luckily, my seat was hidden from most of the cafe. I took out my phone and discreetly took pictures of their intimate behavior. I couldn't forgive James or Grace. I decided to plan their retribution. When I suggested a family dinner, even my busy cheating husband agreed. "Yeah, Mom gets lonely. I should be there for her." I was so excited to get on board that I contacted my parents. I inwardly scorned knowing about the other man, but it wasn't the time to confront my husband. A week later, we had a dinner at his parents' house. I played the role of a quiet wife. After dinner, as everyone started having coffee, William said, "Suddenly wanting a family dinner? Is something up?" My husband looked tense. I had already told William about my husband's cheating. William was shocked. You, with a family? His anger was palpable, but Grace interrupted, predictably. The wife is to blame for being cheated on. It's your fault for lacking charm. Grace spat venomously, as if warning me not to say more. At that moment, something inside me snapped. Oh, so William lacks charm too? Huh? They hadn't expected that. William and Grace spoke up almost simultaneously. Because, Grace, you're cheating, aren't you? Based on your logic, William must be lacking charm. William looked at Grace, half doubting, half believing. Grace, red to her ears, burst out in anger. Me? Cheating? Ridiculous! You lying wife! Normally, I'd be overpowered, but not today. Ignoring Grace's intimidation, I pulled out my phone from my bag, showing the evidence photo to everyone. You! William, at a loss for words, turned to me. Not true! Not true! Grace desperately tried to cover it up. But it's hard to deny, when caught embracing another man in a cafe. When I saw it, my husband was surprisingly there. Mom! No way! My husband was shaken. Mom's such a dirty woman! Grace shouted back, You're doing the same thing! I never imagined my husband and Grace would end up shouting at each other. William interrupted the commotion. Enough! Apologize to your wife first! My husband, chastised by William, Why don't you apologize to your own wife first? Looked dejected. Lily, I'm truly sorry, he said. It's not you who should be apologizing, William. Grace glared as usual. Also, I'm divorcing you. You cheated with my friend. Leave the house and prepare to pay compensation in the divorce. How can I? I've never worked. Grace's voice trembled. William coldly stated, You're well enough to cheat. You can work. Realizing he was serious, Grace turned to my husband. James, you understand me, right? Let's live together. His response was cold. No way! You betrayer! They were both selfish, only thinking of themselves. I hired a lawyer and filed for compensation in the divorce against my husband and his mistress. William, now my ex-father-in-law, did the same, hiring the same firm to divorce Grace and claim compensation. My husband ended up alone in an old apartment, and Grace struggled in unfamiliar jobs, eventually working in a relative's factory under harsh conditions. Both are too poor to move away, so I hear rumors about them. They blame each other for the divorce and now hurl insults. Meanwhile, I enjoy my freedom, living alone. Less stressed than when I was with my cheating husband and cruel Grace. I might date or remarry, but for now, I'm enjoying my free, single life.